welcome to another episode at the Nothing for Granted podcast. Today I am joined by someone I deeply admire, have so much respect for, have been an avid follower for quite some time now, and it was my pleasure to bring Chantel Rodriguez to the Nothing for Granted podcast. Chantel is a Latina entrepreneur, educator, creative consultant, and content creator. By far one of my most favorite people on social media. Her mission is centered on encouraging others to thrive in wellness, success, and family adventure. Do you see why I love her? Chantel is best known for her ability to authentically connect her audience while serving as a resource for health, business, and travel gems. It is incredible the way that she is able to bring authenticity and just such a vibe to traveling with your partner, with your children. She's also a homeschool mom, and over the years, Chantel has worked with countless global brands to deliver high quality content and long-term valuable partnerships. Her content is frequently featured in marketing production, social media ads, tourism, board travel promotion, and more. And the reason that I brought her here today is because she has most recently been announced as one of Pinterest Creator Fund 2022 awardees. Such a huge honor, so well deserved. And Chantel and I today are really going to dive into her origin story, how this came about, her experience, what her expectations are with this fund, and how it's really going to elevate her business to the next level in the coming years, and how she's been able to leverage these partnerships to help her secure funding. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this episode.
I'm excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, so excited to have you here. I've been following your journey for a while, so I was beyond like over the moon when I saw that you got the Pinterest Creator Fund. I was like, yes, like one of my favorite people. Even my business coach was like, after I reposted you, she's like, I love her. Like, there's no one more deserving. And I was like,
is it Karina?
Yeah,
I love her. She is so sweet. She's the sweetest, but that is so, you guys' support means everything, truly. Thank you so much. Really, it means everything to me. And it's been surreal, this whole thing.
I'm excited to jump into it. I already did my intro and everything off camera. So we're pretty much just going to jump right into the conversation. I really want to hear about how did you get started as a content creator, as everything that encompasses pretty much your business between wellness and even like the homeschooling of your son. Like, where did you get started?
Okay, so feels like eons ago that this happened, but so I would say it really started when I was pregnant with my son. I knew that, well, it was going to be a big transition. I'm like a workhorse, right? So my husband and I made the decision that like we didn't want to put our son in daycare or childcare. So that meant that I would be staying home. And for me, I was like, oh, like I've been working since I was 14. I don't know how to, like, kudos to stay-at-home moms that just focus on the household and stuff. That is like foreign. That was foreign to me. Like, I was like, how am I not going to work? How am I not going to contribute? Like, it was just a real internal like dilemma that I had to work through. But we knew that was the best route for what we wanted for our son. So staying home, I also, as a first time mom, like I knew we were getting really into like, how can I be the best mom and how can I eat the best? And I wasn't always into wellness and stuff. I would say he really was the catalyst for what helped me to transition into like more wellness. So starting there, I started developing more of an interest in just healthier diet and, more like holistic products and for myself and for the home and things like that. And I started researching more, and then kind of like organically became the go-to person, like for my friends and family. They were just like, oh, we're not feeling good. Then I know Chantel is going to have like some magic, like herbal recommendation. And like, I just randomly became the person for like all my family and friends. And like, oh, I know she's going to have like a natural recommendation for a household cleaner or something like that. So then I was like, man, maybe I should start a blog. And so I can have like a place to house all the information instead of like always just speaking to people one-on-one. Started blogging. And that's where the journey really started. And it was really from there, just kind of like, years it took to get to where I'm at now, really. But figuring out how to monetize the blog. First, it was just more of like a hobby thing. And then I'm like, I want to make this into like a lucrative, like actual career. So just a lot of trial and error, a lot of persistence, a lot of dedication, a lot of just hustle, straight up hustle. And then, really knowing that I, again, wanted to feel like I was working just for myself. It wasn't because my husband was putting pressure on me to like, he's like, girl, you're fine, like stop. And I'm like, I can't. So it was because of just my own personal desire to want to have my own goals and not just identify as only a mom, which is beautiful for some people. But for me, I wanted something that was my own as well. And that's kind of what started the whole thing.
So many questions. So much of your story resonates with me, even, being a mom of 4 and not really feeling fully fulfilled as just being a mom. It's like, I need to feel like I'm contributing. I need to feel like I have a creative outlet. I have a form of just being my own person. Like being a mom is not my full identity. And so your story totally hit the mark with me. The fact that you kept that as your why, like you did not want your son to be in daycare. You wanted to have more control of, his education and his upbringing. Again, resonates with me. And I know it's going to resonate with so much of my audience who are very much in the same position, especially given the social climate that we live in right now. I know that you mentioned this was a journey that has taken you years. I think that there's this misconception, especially with socials, that everyone just blows up instantly. You work at this for 8 months and boom, you're a TikTok star and you've got, 72,000 followers on TikTok. But I'm sure that a lot of that came from, you have another following, you have multiple different outlets as well between YouTube and your blog and Instagram. Can you tell us a little bit about, when we're talking about years, really how long have you been in this hustle?
So it probably a clean like 5 years I've been doing this. And I would say for it to really have been a real full-blown, like full-time thing, probably 2.5 years, where I financially have hit goals that I wanted to hit. But yeah, it's taken about 5 years. And like you said, I think we live in this world where people just want this like instant gratification. I want to go viral and then I want to get like millions of followers and and for some people that by luck happens, but for a lot of us, that is not the process. So, it takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of getting over that idea of like, man, this isn't happening fast enough. Am I good enough? Am I doing it right? Do people resonate with me? And getting out of those blocking thoughts and those negative internal dialogues that are going to hinder you from really continuing to push forward and know that, okay, so what? Like I didn't get so much engagement on this. That doesn't mean that I'm not meant to be doing this. It just means I just need to keep pushing forward or re-strategize. I'm really big on strategy. A lot of times, a lot of the accomplishments that I'm really proud of, I think probably from an external point of view, people will look and say, oh, she doesn't have, now my following is starting to kind of grow. But even before, they'd be like, how does she get picked to work with Ulta? She only had like 14,000 followers. I was like the least amount in terms of like, not that following is everything, but, in the collective there, I was the one with the least amount of followers. Everyone had like 50 plus, and it's because it's bigger than that. It's about who you are as an individual, what you have to offer, how you connect to people authentically, genuinely, how people resonate with you. So getting outside of those thoughts where just metrics defines you and really pushing forward and knowing that your voice and your message is meant to be heard, then that is a real big driving force for you to continue. And that's why in 5 years, I didn't give up. And thankfully I didn't, because I'm at a good place right now.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something about just being authentic and genuine to who you are and how that will resonate with someone who you probably, the person that you least expected it to speak to is probably the person that it most hits, right? At what point in your journey did Latin representation become a part of your brand, honestly? Because at this point, I would probably, out of all the people that I follow, you're like top 3 of who I think of when it comes to, wow, she's representing the Latin community really, really well. She's doing her thing and she's being really loud about that. And I love it.
Thank you. First of all, that means so much, that I am even perceived in that way to help represent for us. And it's always been a part of me. It always has and always will. I grew up in a very, very Puerto Rican household. Both my parents are 100% Puerto Rican, and is the culture and just everything about it is just so much a part of who I am. And especially when I was in the wellness space, now still very much into wellness, but also into travel now. But in going to these wellness events and things like that, the reality was that there was very few people of color to these events, both virtual events and in-person events. And it was just ridiculous. Honestly, it was the same story. It was like, no, it was frankly, to be completely frank, it was a bunch of white women and it was doing yoga and doing these meditation. And I love yoga and I love meditation and I love matcha and I love these things, but that's not the whole one. All encompasses all form of wellness. And I wanted it to be authentic. I wanted to talk the way that I talk. And I think, and also there's a balance I like to find between being professional and being super chill and letting people just resonate. But to answer your question, I think being able to represent for Latinas and women in general, of color, I think is just something I'm really passionate about, and I'll continue to always be vocal about, because it's not spoken about enough, and we're not seen enough. But there's so many of us out there who have everything it takes to be at the very top. So yeah, if I can continue to be that in any way, then yes, it'll always be a part of my mission. When I'm talking to brands and I'm pitching to brands, I always include I'm a Latina, and then fill in the blank of entrepreneur and all the million hats that I wear, but it's always in there, and it'll always be.
When it comes to securing partnerships, securing, positions and cohorts, or even down to the Pinterest Creator Fund, what role would you say that played? Do you feel like that was a distinctive factor in why you were chosen? Do you see that brands are trying to tap into more of our markets because maybe they know the statistics? And for those of you listening, that maybe it's your first time here, as a woman in business, we only get 2% of business funding that's available out there. As a minority in business, we get less than 1%. Mm-hmm. People like myself, people like Chantel, we are so lucky that we're both. So
yeah, exactly.
We're pretty, we the chances are even lower for us to get the money that we need to grow these visions that have been deposited and, put in our responsibility. So how important would you say pitching that you are a Latina entrepreneur, and like you said, all of the other roles that you fulfill, how important would you say that was?
Super important. I think for Pinterest in particular, this particular cohort let me just start by saying that Pinterest puts there's a lot of companies that talk about diversity and inclusion and the importance of that in their foundation of their business, but it's all talk, right? Or it's just to hit a check mark. It's just to hit a box, just to say it so that they can move on and not get attacked on social media or whatever platform, right? That's the reality of it. Pinterest is not that. And I'm not saying that to just because I work with them, it's just the facts. So this particular cohort is only for minority and underrepresented creators. So whether that be, it encompasses it all. So specifically, all the people there were minorities or underrepresented. So that definitely was a factor in why I got chose, because that was the criteria for that. But in terms of other cohorts or other things that I've applied to, definitely, I would say that plays a major role. And that's also, I always include it because I know that it's not common. It's not common enough, especially again, in the wellness space or even in the travel space. It's not a common thing. So and like you said, I'm already a woman, so that is already a thing. And it's important to include, if you are a minority in pitching or whatever it is to any kind of brand, it's important for you to include that, because they need to know that we are a valuable asset to them, just as much as we're providing value, for whatever our content is or whatever we offer. Just by being that, we alone serve as a major, major valuable asset to them. So always include it, and always just for your own personal pride too, you want to represent. So for me, that alone, even if nothing else, but it definitely, I would say it's played a big role in why I've been chosen for different opportunities, I think, in my career.
Love that. I want to switch gears for just a second. And
Sure.
if you're open to it, we're going to get to the nitty of what financial position were you in when you started to even realize, okay, hold on, there's a way that I can grow my business and not have to tap into my savings, my working capital. What did your money look like, or the money of your business look like at the time that you started pursuing grants?
Um so like I said, I would say business became like really what I kind of was hoping, while when I first started this thing in the last 2.5 years. And when honestly, you can, for grant writing, for me, I would say my financial position was good, but you don't have to be in a bad financial position to seek grants. I think that's a big misconception, is people think that you have to be like just starting or not in a good financial position or in mad debt in order to apply for grants. Hell no. Be in a fantastic financial position and still use other people's money. It just, that's what it's there for. Especially, like you said, for underrepresented or for minorities, for women. There's a lot of specific grants that are dedicated to us, and we're just not aware of a lot of things that are out there. So my financial position was, again, it wasn't that I wasn't in a good place. It was just that I knew if it was out there and it was available to me, then I was going to capitalize on it and apply. And that's just my position on any funding out there.
Yes. How do you find these opportunities? How do you get the access to these grants or these cohorts and accelerators and et cetera?
So I am so big on joining every possible everything. So like, if, for example, Pinterest offers a creator community. This is a free newsletter that they offer with different tips and strategies for content creators. They offer webinars. They offer different things. I join them. There's influencer platforms that offer webinars on different strategies and things. I join them all. The last thing you want to do, even when you feel like you're successful, because I would consider myself to be in a successful place with my business, I never stop learning. The last thing you want to do is feel like you're at this comfortable place where, oh, I'm too good to attend a content creator, in my case, regardless of whatever your niche is or what your business is. But for me as a content creator, oh, I know how to edit videos very well. Why would I attend that? Absolutely not. There's always something to learn. And with that mentality, I join all these things, and that's where that's where I'll find a lot of these opportunities, where things will present themselves. Another strategy is that I will follow different people on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a very underutilized platform, but it's basically like the professional version of like a Facebook. And you can find tons of people who work in different businesses, and there a lot of opportunities are posted. And just connecting, networking. I go to a lot of networking events. I'm very big on, this industry is a lot about the connections you make. And again, having that open mind of like, I don't know enough. I will never know enough. And in doing that, you'll attend events and you'll find different opportunities. And that's how I've managed to do it.
Let's talk about networking events. I feel like it's been a buzzword again. I feel like this word comes around every so often. And right now, people are starting to understand, hopefully, the value in having offline connections. I feel like they are just as important, if not more important, than the online connections that we form on an everyday basis on social media, on LinkedIn, via all these different streams. What is your rule of thumb when it comes to finding, choosing, and following through with a networking opportunity?
Go to them all. If you are in a specific city, look at if there's a lot of in-person events. And like you said, I think in-person connections, they're invaluable in compared to online. So when I have virtual relationships with people, but when I can meet them in person and just solidify it, it just takes it to that next level. So my rule of thumb is attend them all. I was at one yesterday, and I'm going to another one Friday. I will always be that person. And you have to also, even if you feel like you don't belong there, or we tend to get this imposter syndrome when we go to certain events and we're in certain rooms with people where we're like, man, they're way more established or way more. get out of that, because you want to surround yourself and put yourself in these uncomfortable positions and put yourself in rooms with people that you want to know and you want to have in your circle and in your contact list. So I always attend them all. I follow up with people, so I will definitely get their information. I'm one of these people, if I go to like a press trip or a media event or something, I'm always the last person to leave. Like if that person, for example, I was recently in New York for a press trip, and after the event was over, then some of the execs were still there and we're just casually talking and like kind of like cocktail kind of vibe. And some of the other media attendees were like, all right, I'm gonna head in my room. I'm tired. And I'm like, bye. I'm the last one there. Until that executive leaves, I'm sitting right there too and chatting it until they say I'm tired. I'm the last person, because that leaves an impression on people. And that also gives you the opportunity to build and connect and really establish a relationship with people. And these people, regardless of what industry it is, a lot of these press people, a lot of these media people, PR people, they'll rotate, but they'll always remember you. So that's the case with me too. So if I establish a relationship with somebody and they were working at this brand and then they moved over to this brand and now they're doing campaigns here, they're still going to think of me regardless. So that's really big on maintaining on a personal and professional level these with connections you make.
There's one word that kept coming up for me when you were walking us through that scenario, and it was tú tienes que ser presenta. Like
always,
you have to be like, as a minority, I like to say that we Latin women, we're not dramatic, we're just passionate. And like
I like it. Yes, true.
You got to bring that spiciness to your pursuit of opportunity, not just funding. Funding is just such a small component to what grants can offer you. It really is those mentorships, that access to people that you would never otherwise be able to have a face-to-face connection with or dialogue with, because there is an opportunity that's brought around with funding that enables you to be in these rooms that you otherwise never would have been. And as a Hispanic, we're very bold for some things, but for others, we want to be meek and we want to be quiet. And I love your approach, because you're like, oh, hell no, if I'm loud as hell over here, like that's gonna feed into all aspects of my life, my business, my fitness, my wellness. Like we're going all out all the time. And that's beautiful, because what it shows is that you are not just saying like, oh, I'm a Latina creator and entrepreneur and this, like, no, like you're going to get that vibe from me in everything that I do and everything that I touch. Like this is genuinely who I am. And I love that you bring that to the table. I love that you are the last person out of the room, because you're absolutely correct. Those conversations that occur that's like the meat of the event. Like those conversations are the ones where they take, the executives take their masks off and they're not playing corporate. And like all of a sudden now you have a genuine opportunity to really get to know who they are and to make an imprint on them, really. And so I love that. I love your approach to just take it all in. There's so much access. We live in an era where not knowing is not an excuse.
Preach.
but really, like I just started playing with TikTok. Like I have so many other things going on that I'm like, I don't know if I can take the time to learn another platform. But the best way to start to use a platform really is to consume it first. And so I started consuming content on TikTok, and I'm like, oh my God, look at all the things I learned today. Like,
yeah, right. I know. At first, I was the same way. When it came out, I'm like, hell no. Like, here we go with another kiddie social platform doing dances. What I look like. I mean, I like to dance and vibe, but I was like, how does this fit into my business model? How does this fit into what do I have the time and energy and attention focus for this? But then, yeah, like you said, then you get on there, you're like, oh wait, now I know how to like change this and this and this. What I didn't even know. It's like grown people stuff too. It's not just like.
Yes, that was definitely me. Like, I'm not going to sit here and try and figure these dances out.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
But like especially I started lifting, and I have found such a community on TikTok because it's not as curated as Instagram. It's
Right.
so much more laid back and so much, I don't know, like raw almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that.
Yeah.
um Now I totally lost my train of thought. I got so excited about TikTok. um Oh, I wanted to talk about the energy that you put forth from everything from your content to your grant and proposal writing, to even your business. What is your secret sauce to making sure that your energy is A1 when you are going through the motions and doing the things?
Okay, so I would say my approach is always it's at this I would say what I've mastered, one of the things I've mastered is finding this perfect balance between being super relatable and chill and letting that come through when I'm whether I'm writing or actually speaking, and then a level of obviously professionalism, right? Not to say you can't be professional if you are that, but finding this balance where people could connect to you and feel like, okay, beyond just a professional pitch or this proposal, she's also a real person, and I can feel that behind what she's saying, and letting your goals and who you are and your spirit and your what you really are, your true self, resonate and come through with whatever you're doing. And that I think is, I would say that is my secret sauce, because um I just letting that translate, like you have to figure out how to let that translate into whatever you're doing, because people right now, it's just like with anything, like a company could have the best, I don't know, whatever, fill in the blank product, right? But then you find out who runs the company and you're like, I don't want to support them. Even if the product's fire, you're like, they're whack. Like, I don't want, that's the era. We're in an age right now where it's not just like we sit back and just watch TV commercials anymore. We have access now to social media and seeing the people who run things. And we're like, no, like, so people feel that too, as a partner or whatever business venture you're trying to pursue. Like, people feel that too, so they want to know like what you're about, and do they want to support that? Do they want to endorse that? Do they want to fund that, and put their money behind somebody who they resonate with and know is the real deal? So letting that translate is really the key, I think, into what's allowed me to land a lot of the things that I've landed.
And how would you think, or how would you say that you've been able to master that? Would it be through your vocabulary? Would it be through, have you sought out like help for this? How exactly would you say that you were able to perfect that balance?
No, so I have not sought help for that. I have a very big passion. So if we're talking about proposal and funding and writing in that specific area, I would say I've always had a passion for writing. My original major was journalism, and then I ended up switching to political science. And then I was like, man, forget all this. The more I learned about the government or the law system, and I was like, man, I'm out of here. And I just didn't finish college. But I've always had a major passion for writing. And I think beyond the writing though, it's connecting to people and understanding people's thought processes is the real key. So like, if let's say somebody's writing or reading, the person in charge of who's going to select the individuals for the cohort, right? What would they want to be? What would they want to receive? How would they want to connect? Or if it was you in that position, let's say I was in the position where I could choose people, what would I want to see in an application? What would move me? What would make me feel like I need to select them, right? Putting yourself in that, and not just step outside of you, right? Because we get caught up in who we are and our story and what we want and our goals and this and this and this. But then sometimes because of that, we just always, it's a very me. And it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like you're really telling the full story of what you're going to bring and why it's a good idea for them to choose you. It's just, you're so fixated on what you're feeling, right? But I think one of my tricks is stepping outside. So if we're talking about a grant or we're talking about cohort, what would they want to see? What would they want to hear in a story? What would they want to know about me that would make them feel like, damn, I feel like I connect to her. And then tapping into those parts of yourself and including that in a professional way. And it's worked.
I love everything that you just said. Stamp of approval. So so good. I want to talk about the Pinterest Creator Fund and exactly what that process was like for you, and even down to like receiving the notification, whether it's a phone call, a text message, an email, like walk us through that process.
Okay, so that process is you had to apply through like this really long, there was different questions and you had to write like actual little paragraphs and like response. So I don't even remember what some of those questions were, but basically like why you would be a good fit. Some, very general questions. Some of them are like, what are you truly passionate about? Why are you passionate about it? How long have you been in business? A lot of general questions. And those questions could be, again, that's where I was saying, like, if I could just say, oh, I've been in business for 5 years and I'm passionate about wellness. And that's so basic. Like, what do you want to include that's beyond that? Yeah, if we were just writing a paper, you'd get an A because you're answering the question, but it's like, are you really moving somebody? So anyway, the process was like that. And then they didn't let us know, I think like almost for a month or like 3 weeks or a month passed before they made the full selection process. And I remember getting the email from the team and they're like, I didn't know that I was selected. They were just like, basically, we would love to speak with you about as a next step in your application. So I'm thinking it's like, oh, like there's a part 2. I didn't know, like, okay, now we have to talk. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got this. They don't give you any context about what you're going to talk about. They don't give you any prep. Like, here's, these are sort of questions we're going to talk about, nothing. So you go into it blindly and you're just, I'm like, I'm confident, man. And that's a big thing about being an entrepreneur is not knowing there's this, I'm all about balance, right? So have this humbleness to you, but be equally as confident, right? So like, I am so humble because I'll be the first one to be like, I'm here to learn and I don't know everything. But I'm the first one to also be like, I'm confident as hell. Like, you cannot tell me shit. Like I'm that girl. You know what I mean? So, but also find that. So anyway, when they did it, I'm like, well, I tap into that side and I tap into whatever side is needed at that time. And I'm like, well, I'm it. Like, let's go. And then they were like, oh yeah, you were selected. I'm like, what? Yeah, it was just like, just a really surreal feeling. And it validates like all your hard work. And not to say, and even if I didn't get picked, that's another thing too. I do want to, let me say this real quick. Even if you don't get picked, even if you don't get selected, don't let that be the only form of validation for yourself, because whether I got selected or I didn't get selected, I was going to still go hard anyway. And I was going to still be proud of myself anyway. Because you can't let those situations where things don't necessarily go how you hope, to define you as an entrepreneur, and to let that be the dictating force for if you continue to keep going hard and push forward, or if you just say, this isn't for me, I guess I'm not cut out for this. Like, regardless, you have to believe in yourself. But in that moment, I was like, wow, this is awesome. They really resonated with me, and that felt good. And yeah, and just, again, having that moment of knowing like, whether they told me yes or no, I was going to be confident. That's big.
Yeah, because you could always apply for the next one, even being in the room with them. You could ask questions as far as like, well, what did you like about my application? What didn't resonate? And you could always get the feedback that you need to come back. Because I'm the kind of person where, okay, I didn't get it this round. Let's talk about what needs to improve. I'm gonna be back next round.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You have to have that mentality. Yeah, I think don't let that feel like a defeat. Like I always tell, and this is something I tell my son too. I'm like, in this house, I was like, we never lose. We either win or we learn. That's it. Those are the only 2 options. That's it. So like you said, it's just really knowing, okay, what can I do to improve? How can I hone in? And maybe some people aren't confident in writing. Seek outside help then. That's okay too. I'm not saying you have to do everything and figure it out on your own. If that's not, play on your strengths and your weaknesses. If you know that that's just not your thing, then find somebody who can help and make your thing. That's also okay too in business. Recognizing when things are not necessarily to your strengths. But yeah, that Pinterest thing was a really cool thing. And to know that there were so many people that applied and that they resonated with my application and my goals and what I wanted to get out of the cohort and help them represent the cohort. I mean, it was a big deal. It is a big deal.
Absolutely. It really speaks to your ability to articulate exactly where you see yourself going and what is going to help you get there. What do you foresee the Pinterest Creator Fund doing for you in your business in the next year?
Well, what it's already doing, I was already invited to speak at a conference, to be on a panel for a Pinterest creator panel. And that so it's already doing so many things. And what's beautiful about it is the team is not, even though the intensive is only a 5-week program, you're part of the family for life. They include you for many opportunities to come. You're the first on the list and the roster in terms of consideration for different, whatever it is, different things they have down the pipeline. And I just see a community of people also. That's probably one of my favorite things about it too, is the connections that I make, not just in the Pinterest team itself, but in the fellow creators, and how everybody's just super dope. And everybody there is on the same wavelength of like wanting to be the best versions of themselves as individuals and in their business. And the fact that you even apply to that is already says something about what type of person you are. You know what I mean? Like, you're out there, you're seeking the best opportunities. Like, those are the type of people that I want in my circle. Those are the type of people I want to have conversations with, because you have the same mentality. I'm in an age right now, or not even just about age, but I'm in a point in my life where I don't have time to be around anybody who's just going to be a distraction. Like, you're either fueling me and we're vibing off each other and we're, being able to bring value to each other, or just, I love you, but from a distance, bro. Like, I just don't have time.
I'm just going to take a second, because my audience knows I've been heavy on that. Yeah. We just don't have the time or the energy to allow anyone into our space that is going to be toxic, that is going to be an energy suck. Like, I need to grow. I'm here for a purpose, and I am on a mission to fulfill that. I'm on a mission to live out the most elevated version of myself that can possibly ever exist.
Yes.
And if you're not going to contribute to that, like you said, love you from afar. Like, we don't have time for that. You don't. And that's every successful person that you can study. They all have a similar mindset, and it's like, get it done. If you're not on the same page, like, love you, wish you the best, but you're in my way right now, and I cannot have that. I need to focus. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's paid off. Like, the results speak for themselves. The hustle speaks for themselves. Like I said, I've been watching you from afar for a long time at this point, and you can tell who puts in the work day in and day out, regardless of what life throws their way, regardless of what their bank account looks like. You can't fake discipline.
No. Same for you. I mean, that's why, like, I have one kid, and it's like, well, multiples. Like, oh my gosh, like, all the power to you. Like, that is, I don't know how you do it, but I commend you. Like, it's no joke. And I see the same, like, I would consider you when I say people like who are in the same mindset, who could, not to say, oh, you can't sit with me. I welcome anybody to sit with me, but I'm talking about like in my inner, like, you can actually, I could go to lunch with you and it would be good conversation. You know what I mean? You have that mentality where you're a hustler, you go, you get it done. You don't know, you figure it out. You're good. Let's go. Like, it's go time. That is, I think, the key to, like, especially when you work for yourself, there's nobody that's going to overlook you and be like, hey, did you wake up early today? Did you get those goals done? Did you get this checklist done? You don't have that. That doesn't exist. You are that person for yourself. And if you're not that, it's going to show.
Yes. This is why that mental component when it comes to entrepreneurship is vital. It is like, people that want to start businesses, like, oh, that's cute, you have a business plan, but is your mindset right? Mm-hmm. If your mindset isn't right, bro, I don't know how long you're going to be in this, because it is the long game.
Yeah.
This is not an overnight thing. And I've seen so many other creators, so many other business owners that get overnight success and can't sustain it because their mindset isn't where it had to be to begin with. Yep. I'm kind of wrapping up here. What you gave us so much goodness. Like, you gave the sauce today. I'm going to have to create so many different graphics just from this. I don't even know what I'm going to do, but if you had to sum it up and give our listeners a couple of tips on how do you get started, how do you stay consistent, how do you continue to pursue these opportunities to grow your business, what would you say?
I would say be confident in yourself and what you bring to the table. Be very grounded and rooted in your why, and let that be your driving force. Let that be the reason why you're consistent. Consistency is another one. Be consistent, even when it feels like it's not working out, even when it feels like the results are not happening fast enough, even when it feels like the opportunities are not coming to you enough. Be consistent, because eventually it will. I am living proof. I don't have a business degree. I don't have a crazy amount of coaching behind me, which shout out to you if you do. I just don't. But all this to say is that you don't need some fancy degree. You don't need some certification. You don't need some outside force validating that you belong in what you're doing. You can do this. You can do this. I am just a Puerto Rican who grew up in the hood, who didn't know anything about financial literacy, who didn't know anything about anything related to business. And I made it. And I sit now at tables with executives. I sit now and I do creative consulting for big agencies. And I'm not shit. Like, I say it all the time. And I don't say it to say like I'm not proud of myself, but I'm not better than you. I am not greater than you. I'm not smarter than you. I'm nothing. All I am is I work hard. And if you work hard, you could be here too. It's really that simple. It's really that simple.
Mic drop. Like, I don't know what more. I don't know what more you could possibly want from that. Chantel, tell the audience, where can they hang out with you? Where can they learn more about you?
So, okay. So different platforms. I'm pretty much everywhere. On Instagram, I'm Choose Love Art. On TikTok, I'm Choose Love Art. On YouTube, I'm Choose Love Blog. And then on Pinterest, I'm Choose Love Blog, which stay tuned, because a lot of those things are probably going to be changing. But yes, that's where you can find me. I do have a blog site as well, www.chooseloveblog.com. I offer consulting there. I offer brand partnerships with different brands. I do all kinds of things. But beyond all that, if you just have questions, like, I'm always down to help people out and vibe. I have a subscriber community on Instagram as well, where I share tons of content. Creator tips, if that's something that you're trying to pursue or you're interested in, and lots of gems in there. So yeah, if you want to just connect with me in any way, I'm always down to meet good people.
So good. I'm so grateful to you for taking the time to hang out with us. Be sure to check out all of the links down below. And Visionary, I will catch you in the next one. Many blessings on you.